In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to cast on for toe-up socks. I'll be using DPNs. Later on in the video, I'll be showing you how to cast on circular needles. These are Knit Pro Royals in 2.25 millimeter size. So you take your DPNs, you take your yarn. I'm using Scheepjes Invicta Extra. Make sure the yarn tail is to the front, and you hold your needles in your right hand like this if you're right-handed. Kind of space them apart like this. So you drape the yarn onto the needle that's furthest away from you. Then, like with the long tail cast on, you're gonna hold your yarn like this, but make sure the yarn tail, which is at the front here, you twist it so it's at the back. Doing this, you don't have to tie a knot. And then with the top yarn, you're gonna make a loop around the bottom needle. These are your first two stitches. Then with the bottom yarn, you make a loop around the top needle. Then again around the bottom needle. So you're gonna come in through the middle of the needles and then go to the outside. So with the bottom yarn, you're filling up the top needle. With the top yarn, you're filling up the bottom needle. And you're always ending on the bottom needle. That's when you have the same amount of stitches on each needle. Now, let me see. One more. So we have 10 stitches on each needle now. And then turn your work like this. So the needle tips are facing to your right. So now we're gonna prepare to knit the first round. Ooh, that last stitch is a bit, he wants to escape. So make sure you have the yarn here that goes to your yarn ball. It's really easy to grab the yarn tail at this point, so make sure of that. Then take your third DPN, insert it to that last stitch like so. And I'm holding the yarn tail here since, you know, you want to secure that last stitch a little bit. So insert your needle like this. You take your yarn and knit like you normally would, although it is a little bit tight. Make sure your stitches don't drop off the bottom needle. So you take this off, it's now onto the third DPN. Now for the rest of these stitches, you can hold the DPN like this. The rest of the stitches on this DPN are twisted. You see that? The leg, like the right leg, is at the back. And to make it completely perfect, we're just gonna knit into the back of the needles on this DPN. You don't have to do it, but in that way the toe looks the same on both sides. So you're gonna knit into the back of the stitch for every stitch on this side. They will not be twisted on the other side. It just depends on the way you're casting them on. So we're just knitting. Again, make sure that the stitches don't drop off the bottom needle. And the last one. Now turn your work again. You kind of slide the DPN so the tip is here. And then we'll knit the other side. So again, make sure you have your yarn that goes to the yarn ball. This needle, so these stitches are not twisted, although I can never really tell on the first stitch. So just knit the first stitch. And then here you can see the right leg of the stitch is at the front. So for this DPN, we'll just knit the stitches like you normally would through the front leg. And as we come to the middle of the half of stitches, so we've knit 5 now. That's half of what we casted on. You take your 4th DPN, so you kind of just leave this one here, and you continue with this one. Just kind of move it out of the way like that. There. Now we have knitted the first round of your toe-up sock. So on the next round, we're going to do the increases. Be sure to watch my next video for that, how to increase for the toe on a toe-up sock. So for the second portion of this tutorial video, I'm going to show you how to cast on for toe-up socks on a circular needle. These are my Xiaogu needles. And it's a 2.5 millimeter needle, which I believe is 1.5 US size. And it's basically, you basically do the same as if you had DPNs. So you take your needles, you space them apart a little bit. You take your yarn with the yarn end towards you. Drape them on the needle furthest away from you, and then insert your fingers like so that the yarn tail is to the back. So you kind of twist the yarn around the back needle so that you don't need to tie a knot. So you take your top yarn and you twist it, or you pull a loop around the bottom needle. You do the same around the top needle with the bottom yarn. And you keep going like this, from the center outwards, kind of like a figure 8, until you have 10 stitches on each side. It actually depends on your pattern, but I prefer a rounder toe. So even for a small women's size sock, I'm casting on 10 stitches on each side. We have 8 now, so 2 more on each needle. There. Now take your work, kind of, pressure it so the yarn doesn't, so the stitches don't fall off, and turn your work so that the tips face to the right. Now, this is your yarn that goes to the yarn ball. So the casting on is pretty much the same, but knitting the first round on circular needles is a little bit different than from DPNs. So the bottom needle you pull it out all the way, well, not all the way, but kind of like to the middle, so that your stitches are in the middle of the cable. I'm going to show you how to do that with the yarn in your right hand. You hold your needles and the cable like this. Well, you don't have to hold the cable, but it kind of flips up if I don't hold it. So also holding the yarn tail, as you see, that kind of pulls the very last stitch tight. So since I don't want that stitch too loose, I'm just holding it. So now, as you can see, the yarn tail forms the back leg of the last stitch. So we cannot knit into the back here. So what we're gonna do is knit into the front. That's actually how you would normally knit. So insert the needle, take your yarn, pull around the needle, and pull up a stitch or a loop. Now, as you see, for the rest of the stitches on this side, on this needle, these are twisted. So you see the right leg is on the back side. And we also, so you want to knit into the right leg, so you knit into the back. See? In the back of the stitch. And these stitches are going to be twisted on this needle. They're not going to be twisted on the other needle. That just depends on which, and if you rotate the yarn clockwise or counterclockwise when you're casting on. So we've almost completed knitting this half. You can see they're all twisted. So, and now we've straightened them. Now, turn your work. Insert this cable further to the left until you have the tip just coming out, just like this. Then you pull out the bottom needle, just like you did before, and knit the top half. Oh, I've kind of split the yarn there. Oh well. So you see on this side, the stitches are not twisted. They're as they should be. So the right leg is at the front. So you just knit those. So we've finished the other needle, or the other half of the stitches. And you're gonna put the cable or put the other needle into the right position again. And your first round looks like this. And in the next round, we're gonna increase, but be sure to check out my next tutorial video on that. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to check out the pattern details into the description box below.